Bottom left hand side of the map, our red Terran. Give it up if you're cheering on INnoVation. He's going up against the blue Terran bottom right side of the map. It is aLive. Okay then, so game one of this best of 3 TvT. Looking to see how this will go, looking to see what will happen in the next few moments. As you can see, the refinery on the way up for both players. Gas first on Newkirk. I mean, Newkirk, a map where the close by air positions will allow for aggressive drops, etc., ravens and so on to come in so easily and so quickly in the early stages of the game. Although that said, you always got to remember as well that it means that it's very predictable where those air-based units are going to come from. And so an early Viking can very easily be in the correct position right away, chase down a Raven, a Banshee, whatever, from a very early stages. So it's an interesting map because it's very one-dimensional in terms of how the attacks are going to come down. You know, either we're going to see a push at the front or, you know, a drop by, by the sky. I guess that front it can be a bit interesting with the wider ramp. And also the potential to elevate it up here into the main base. So, I mean, there's a few different interesting pieces, but, you know, with the production here already, you know, you get a pretty good visual of any elevator play happening right away. So it's an interesting one for TvT overall, and obviously, as with any other matchup, Newkirk Precinct can end up going quite long. But especially TvT, which relies so much on those siege tank lines defensively, keeping you safe and keeping you alive. Well, how do you ever push into those if there's 4 bases which are so easily taken with just one tank position? Or not one, but like, you know, a fairly loose spread of tanks. It's very difficult. You know, it's very easy to, you know, as long as you got the map control, you see where your opponent's army is moving. But if you defend your 3rd base down here, you're very quickly up to the top side, defend your 4th base up here. It's a very narrow map, a very short map, I guess, with the way it's laid out. You know, it's not very tall. There we go. It's not very tall. It is. It's short. So it's narrow kind of on its side, which means that it is very easy to swap between positions. I mean, it's narrow when you look at the kind of overall rectangle of the map, but then you actually realize that the top half is kind of limited to about here, and you actually realize that it's actually only about 2 screen heights to kind of go from top to bottom when you're zoomed out fully. And as you just see this Reaper play then from both, and it's actually going to be Reaper Hellion from both, taking a little bit of a blast in the past, going back towards that kind of pre-Cyclone change kind of TvT with Reaper Hellion, although there is going to be a Cyclone now on the way up from INnoVation. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It isn't proper Reaper Hellion, I guess. It's just a Hellion to help scout out, see what's going on. Both will end up going to a Cyclone. It's kind of, I guess, what I actually haven't seen much TvT lately, but I assume this can be kind of seen as a pretty standard TvT build. Lots of pressure early, get that Cyclone out, which is still so good at dealing with so many aggressive attacks early in the game. And then just going from there as INnoVation, already with the starport and the tech lab, starts up his Raven, which has been part of the meta game quite heavily for the Terran players as of late as well in the TvT. The Raven, just so good at doing anything, actually, harassing mineral lines with the auto turret, breaking positions, whether it's defensively or aggressively with the auto turrets as well. When they get dropped down, not only do they soak tank shots, but they actually do so much damage. They can take down a tank, 2 tanks so quickly if there's a couple of them, and that really helps you just push through locations and just to be able to attack into positions, which generally in TvT, we wouldn't have expected them to be able to be attacked into, because 2 or 3 tanks early game are pretty powerful. Now we are going to be seeing this Raven about to pop out from aLive. So this Raven pops here, and I mean, again, both players going for the Raven. We'll see if a second Raven is made by one of the players aLive. It looks as though he is waiting for that 200 gas, sorry, to be able to build Raven number 2. So looks as though the second Raven will start as well. And over to the left-hand side of the map, well, actually INnoVation only went for the single Raven. He now goes for the Viking as a follow-up. So Raven-Viking combo. I mean, double Raven's been very popular as of late, but if INnoVation wants to try and take some air control and wants to threaten towards Vikings quickly, well, obviously he's doing that exactly right now. He's actually going to go for a second Raven, so it is just a Viking to help him deflect pressure early. There's now 2 Cyclones, 2 Reapers, and the Hellion moving into the middle of the map. And altogether, both players are just turning out to be super defensive. Despite it being kind of gas first into lots of kind of pressure units, both realize that the other is doing more or less the same, and so they just say, right, we're going to sit back and just defend, make sure we don't take too much damage. Raven here moves forward, Cyclone locks on, won't do enough damage to kill it off, so that Raven will get away. As at the front, we'll see a few units pushing up as well. INnoVation just trying to multitask and actually baits out an auto turret. That's really nice here. If you get rid of an auto turret early like this, well, I mean, getting rid of an auto turret early just means that you got a bit more to push in with. Obviously, auto turrets aren't forever. They are time limited. Naturally, you're going to see INnoVation dropping the auto turrets. Not sure about this. It feels as though he drops them very far back, and that he can't really do much with these. If you drop them a bit further forwards, maybe you can force a bit more of a fight, and then maybe he gets a bit more value out of them. So, neither player really losing too much here. INnoVation escapes back home with about a single SCV lead, maybe a couple, depending on when they're finishing. But yeah, everything looking pretty even. In terms of structures, well, both players just on the 1-1-1 setup for now, with no third command center, and both going into the next 2 racks right away as well. Neither of them going to say, right, time to go for the third CC. So 3 racks apiece, Stimpack starts up almost simultaneously as well, engineering bays. Well, INnoVations is ready, aLive's is on the way, so there's really not that much of a difference between the players, like a few seconds here, a few seconds there. But for the most part, we are looking to see a game which is just so standard from both. As we're going to be seeing, well, a couple of Ravens and a Viking, Cyclones moving forward. It's actually going to be now aLive's turn to get aggressive. As you see these initial Cyclones taking a little bit of damage. The tank on the high ground, 2 tanks on the high ground will be big here. Auto turrets coming down on either side. It's INnoVation, who just doesn't have as many though. The quadruple auto turret drops on down, but again, as these auto turrets disappear, I wonder if INnoVation just has enough to fight anyways, because of the fact that he had that tank dealing so much damage initially, or those 2 tanks dealing damage initially, and taking so much damage on the way in, means that aLive maybe just can't stick around for too much longer, and that does seem to be the case. He backs away, and that's going to be just the Marines, the Cyclones, backing on over to the right hand side. Reaper here taking a little bit more damage as well. And there's going to be seeing the +1 upgrades coming up for either player too. So +1 from both. Still super similar situations. I mean, considering that last fight, neither player really lost too much more than the other. We look at the units tab, and INnoVation is 1 tank behind, but his next tank is so close to finishing that it's basically even. The difference being that aLive had basically built a couple more Cyclones, while INnoVation had switched into siege tank production, so losing those 2 tanks doesn't put him behind. As we have the units just collecting together to the right, and well, Marines continue to come on in from aLive right now. You can see that Stimpack on the way up from both players. And more medevacs just continue to pop on out. aLive gathering up on this natural expansion. As is INnoVation back at home. Still no third CC from either of them. Both just playing the 5x player style. Aggressive TvT, where they're both going to keep on looking to attack throughout the game. Now we are going to be seeing the third CC dropping on down from aLive as well. So third command center drops down over here. I'm going to see that combat shields from both players is starting up as well. So both players going in towards combat shields. The +1 not far away. So the +1 attack upgrade is really not far away at all, as we see some more Marines, and the siege tank as well going to be lifting on up here. And those units going to start pushing on over to the left hand side. aLive will pull all the way over to the left hand side of the map, as we're going to see these 2 Cyclones, a few Marines from INnoVation, looking to see what he can get up to, where he can go. Actually, he's going to get caught a little bit off guard. Marines with Stim now. They'll push forwards. There goes a Marine, and these Cyclones are not going to last very long at all. So just going to keep stepping forwards, and that is going to be 1 Cyclone dead. The other still pulling towards the top side. As, again, upgrades just finishing up here, and INnoVation starting to just pull ahead on supply. But that said, big drop into the main from aLive. Oh, well, what a quick way to end the game. aLive goes for a big drop into the main, which we see just a little bit too late. Apologies. INnoVation was just in position. He was able to shut. I don't know. This isn't a great. Basically, exclamation mark ruin gaming, but it stands for "Are you in gaming?" It's just hard to get you with the right command. But check that out. There's also a link below the stream. If you sign up to the site, it helps me out a whole bunch, and it also helps out Are You In Gaming a whole bunch too. Use the referral code WARDI as well to sign on up. And if you use the referral code WARDI to sign on up, it takes like a minute or two. And it's cool to check out. It's basically a place you can schedule to play with your friends, different games, and all the rest of it as well. It sorts out the issues of time zones and all of that. So go check it out. Sign up, use the referral code WARDI when you sign up, and also if you search for the network WardiTV and join the WardiTV network, then you also help us out greatly. The more people we have join there, obviously the better the sponsorship goes, and the happier they are with us, and the more likely we are to maybe get another deal with them next month or whatever else is all this. So if you want to support the stream, it's a great way to check out a cool new product and support the stream at the same time. And again, it's all online, just takes a couple of minutes. It's worth checking out. Alright, so let's do this. To the bottom right hand side, our blue Terran player gave it up if you're going to be cheering on INnoVation. And to the top left-hand side, the red Terran player. It is aLive, down by 1 in this best of 3. Nice stash. I'm glad you guys like the stash. It is getting shaved off today. I've just been very stressed out and busy, and I keep waking up late because I keep having nightmares of frames dropping and internet connections dying. So I've been, yeah, I should have shaved. You're right, guys. Thanks for reminding me. I'm gonna go do it right now. BRB. You guys can just watch INnoVation aLive from aLive space now. But it's okay, guys. I've remembered that I have to shave. I'll get it done. Fear not. There's a spelling type in my message. Iron Gaming is this month's sponsor. It's a site which helps you to schedule when you're going to play with your friends or to find others to play games with. You can. I see it. I see it, Hounds of Baskerville. I'll fix it later. Thank you very much for pointing it out. I'll get it fixed up. But yeah, check it out. As we set up into this TvT. Once again, same build so far. Both players gas first into double gas. Starport on the way down as well. Really nothing too crazy. Just going into what we would kind of expect at this stage based on the openers. And obviously it's exactly as we saw in the last game too. So both players really just matching each other once again, and obviously INnoVation ended up coming out ahead of the last game. But a lot can change in TvT. All aLive has to do is not go for that Doom drop and lose all his army, and then all of a sudden, the game goes on, and who knows what happens next. Maybe INnoVation does a Doom drop which ends in the same way. So there's a few different ways we can look at this. This Reaper pops on into the main base from INnoVation, going to drop down a grenade, and is actually going to be able to pick off an SCV here, it feels like. So there goes an SCV. Hellion picks off the Reaper as well, and the Mule does drop down into the main base mineral line. So INnoVation is not too bad with that. I mean, picking off a worker is cute. Both players start up their CC on the low ground, which is the important part of this now, making sure you can defend to keep your CC alive. And you can see INnoVation with the high ground vision already, or the high ground position, should be in a good position to keep this up, as we can see his Reaper is going to find the 2 Reapers of his opponent heading towards the main. So he knows about that, but again, how far does he want to pull back? He actually sends the Hellion to the main. Cyclone and a Raven at the front, I guess, is enough to push this back, and aLive is not going to commit further forward. So you see the Cyclone still moving around here. The Raven on the way up from aLive. That's his second Raven now. Again, the slight difference between the players, where the double Raven comes up immediately from aLive. INnoVation just goes Raven, Viking, Raven, just to make sure that he's got some sort of anti-air in case a Banshee suddenly hits him, just so he isn't reliant on basically Cyclone anti-air DPS, which is more or less non-existent, and order turrets to take down whatever he needs to. Anyways, you're going to see this couple of Cyclones actually pushing forwards from INnoVation here. Something we didn't see much of in the last game, and he is maybe going to take a position on this low ground where he can delay this CC. Can he actually get the SCV building the CC? He's just going to delay that here. Another SCV goes onto it. Now order turret's coming down. There will be INnoVation chased away, but he kills 3 workers. He very nearly killed a Raven as well. That would have been really nice if he could have picked off a Raven, because that's very expensive. 200 gas falling out of the sky so early in the game. That's not pretty. That's not something you want to have happen. Still nice from INnoVation though. Yes, he loses a Cyclone, but he uses only 1 order turret against the 2. And order turrets do have a lot of value. It's surprising how much they can get done. And as we see the Raven and the Cyclone pulling back down towards the bottom right-hand side of the map. More Marines joined up together as well. So 2 Ravens, the Viking, the Cyclone, the Marines, all gathering up here to see what is going on. And now we're going to see 1 Reaper going to the far left-hand side. A Hellion to the far right as well. Continue to see what else is happening. Stimpack on the way up from both then, as the Siege Tank is on the way out from aLive. And again, for the most part, we're going into a very even mid-game. And as both of them have similar stuff in the sky, 2 Ravens and a Viking. There's 1 tank out of piece. There's a Cyclone out of piece. 8 to Marines to 7. It's just INnoVation on a slight worker lead. 38 to 36 SCVs, but it is very slight. He also has his initial Reaper Hellion still alive, so some very small advantages for INnoVation, but nothing really game-changing at this sort of point, as we just wait to see what is going to happen next. As Barracks actually pulls back, drops down a reactor into the main base, and this Hellion to the right-hand side. INnoVation just keeps on moving around with this to see what else is happening as well. 2 Vikings building on up from aLive. And if a couple of Vikings continue to build up, we just see, well, just continues to set up into this, I guess. Stimpack on the way from either side, so both players building up the Stimpack and so on. And still just a Hellion to the far right, patrolling, keeping good map control. And map control is so much what this map is going to be about. It actually reminds me about, it's a very different map to the map I'm about to say, but Coda was a map which had a lot of different pathways on it. And it was only 5 pathways, but it was a map which was very reliant on using those attack paths in different ways. And that's definitely what Abyssal Reef is about. And in TvT, a map which is reliant on attack paths and using them correctly, well, it's all going to be about making sure that you can... it's all going to be about making sure that you have vision of it and making sure there's not a drop heading down this pathway or an army moving down that pathway. And that's why we are seeing a lot of both players sort of setting up with units just outside of their bases to see where units might be coming from. You can see aLive is just setting up units in every attack path to make sure he knows everything that's happening in the near future. So we have a lot of Marines from INnoVation moving out onto the map. 2 medevacs will follow this here very shortly. Just going to leave his tanks, Marines at home in case of a counterattack, and I guess he's just going to look to see what he can do with these Marines. I mean, last time, last game we did see actually players saying, right, okay, let's drop our third bases in position. If that was to happen again right now, then it is very possible that we just see like the third CC being stimmed into and taken down instantly. That would be something which would be nice for INnoVation, but he's actually just cleaned up some map control at this point. As Ravens do have to be careful, there's a couple of them here, and auto turrets are good, but again, if they get too close, then the Marines can just shut them down quite quickly. Actually, see if I can get shot down here. Mind if I get shot down, and rather, the next medevac might go down as well. Is Raven getting very low? INnoVation still trying to escape, loses both medevacs. Wow, nice shutdown by aLive. INnoVation losing quite a few Marines as well, so it doesn't really make much of his attack across the map. Actually, INnoVation pulling ahead in some other ways as well. His combat shield's a few seconds ahead. His +1 armor is about 45 seconds ahead of his opponent, providing that aLive starts that right now. So INnoVation continues to take some upgrade leads as he's just going to push up the left-hand side with the rest of this army. 2 Liberators on the way out from aLive. So these 2 Liberators are going to come into play very shortly, and they're really good for breaking siege tank positions and all the rest, and especially if you're holding the air control, which aLive does. 5 Vikings to the 1. aLive has a lot of air control, so these Liberators could be pretty deadly for INnoVation when it comes to trying to shut them down and to try and deal with them when they're going to be sieging up on top of his army. You can see what INnoVation wants to do. He scans, he sees where his opponent is positioning. He has got his third CC finished. That's something aLive hasn't even started. So again, advantages for INnoVation throughout this game are just continuing to build. And it's mostly because of this large income advantage he's held for the last 5 minutes or so. The short spikes, I imagine, are just workers transferring over. And as those disappear, INnoVation will continue to maintain a worker lead and an income lead with 56 to the 46 SCVs at this point of time. +1 armor then from Inno is about to finish up, and as the army finishes up as well, we are going to see the 2-2 available for INnoVation. Something else which aLive right now is not able to commit towards. Vikings, Ravens still overhead, and Marines and tanks once again pulling back towards the center of the map. And we still see this army on this far left side from INnoVation. Marines, tanks, and a couple of Ravens here. Going to push forwards and see what he can do with them as these 2 Marines stim on in. And well, we see still some Marines and tanks just pushing in towards the center here. Another scan comes on down. And these units from aLive just pulling all the way to the right. But the fact INnoVation still has an army over here, well, I mean, he's just going to move straight on into this. We see the Liberators a little help out a little bit. The auto turret's coming down, definitely going to help too. An auto turret on the high ground to help against that siege tank would be wonderful. As aLive to taking his time. I mean, he's breaking through the rocks while INnoVation is actually pushing through and killing the command center on the natural expansion already. INnoVation, I think, realizing now that this third base is over here in trouble, and is going to start pulling back. Army supply lead for INnoVation, and armor upgrade as well, still in his favor. You see that one Liberator on the high ground is holding on for now. aLive with 2 tanks on the high ground too. Not going to make this easy as INnoVation already in position in the main base. Medevac's targeted down. Ooh, one of them doesn't go down. Actually, Vikings are firing away as siege tanks sieging up. The Liberators are going to make that difficult for him to kind of keep going, though. And that is, I guess, INnoVation's issue. These Liberators are going to be able to keep positioning even further forwards. As eventually these Marines on the low ground, are they going down? I think they are. INnoVation is winning out this fight. I mean, this is crazy. INnoVation stays a CC ahead. He's starting to lose tanks, so he's going to stim forwards, get rid of the Liberators, if nothing else. If he gets rid of the Liberators, then he can just pull back with everything else and just let the tanks hold their position. Some SCVs still to the far right side, which means the worker count is 22 to 33, but INnoVation only really using about 20 of those workers at most here. If even that, he's actually heavily oversaturated. Needs to get back to mining on the low ground. But actually, these tanks are going to reposition down here right away. And for INnoVation, it's a difficult couple of moments as he has to figure out how he's going to fight into this. Marines not paying attention down to the south. He's actually going to pull forwards with everything now. Marines stim in. He's going to start splitting them up. Vikings have to land. The SCVs are killing siege tanks as well. That will be GG. And INnoVation will secure that he will go through this group along with Sue. And unfortunately, aLive